God and Batman.
I won't say yeah, I'll just go over what my plans were. So I was playing this ladder with a buddy of mine, and so I wanted to go for some like cheap options, right? I wanted to be able to farm so that I could farm gear for him, and we could both, so that we're both not looking for the same gear as well. So this was my sorceress that I planned on farming mostly with, and then I also had a semi-melee fire Aldurs. Druid, I think I'm going to show him first. Lad and 3. So, if you don't know, Aldurs is not that hard to find in relativity to, like, finding like a last wish with like Nigma runes and let's find something else that's like really hard, like Phoenix Shield, right? So with this build, my goal was to do Ubers with him, so that we could do Ubers together. My main thing that I tried to do was just provide Oak Sage to give him a bunch of life and to basically peel for him, stun enemies, and then, he had a paladin so that I could make some fire damage, Gear, full Aldurs, but this one mostly because I was just trying to farm and was not optimizing for doing Ubers all the time. We're both over the age of 30, and he's married, and now he has a kid, so farming for everything is basically really important. We're not gonna reach endgame GG in a ladder. We just don't have the time to dedicate. At least I don't, and I don't think we should either. On that note, sockets. All the sockets have P topazes in them, and then this has 3 shales. People were kind enough to dedicate different pieces throughout this ladder. I found this, which was really great, and then aside from that, I have, where is it, just a +3 shapeshifting, and I have a pretty nice string of ears with 14 damage reduction, magic damage reduced by 13, and I would switch the shields a lot. This is like my magic finding shield, a rhyme, so that I can get cannot be frozen with some magic find gold find, and then I could switch the rings for more magic find or gold find, whatever I want, which is usually like a Nagel or something like this with some res, and then Spirit Shield if I was doing sort of just trying to like do a bunch of damage. My main shield, I would switch between Spirit and Storm Shield. Excuse me. And on Switch, I had a Moser's because I was trying that out for a little bit with 2 perfect topazes, and then this I had but never used. I got a torch on the one Uber run that we did, and the rest are kind of shape-shifting. I have a 12 fast rate recovery with some lifers. There's a poison, more shape-shifting shit. So the reason why, and then depending on what I need, so this has a lot of pretty good res. This had some res too at some point. This is a really great magic finding because it has some crushing blow, poison length reduction, and then I did have some chance guards as well, but I think I need 10% increased attack speed. I think it helps, but the faster hit recovery definitely helps on the Blood Fist gloves if I'm not using a Spirit Shield. Spirit Shield is really great for the plus to skills, the faster hit recovery, and the res, not necessarily the faster cast rate. So that's why this is really good for a ladder, is because, you could be the lowest faster cast rate thing possible, And then Reaper's Toll, Shaft Stop, Rock Stopper for this guy. So we're in Hell, and I'll just show you some clear little bit. I wasn't in a position that I wanted to get a call to arms for all of my characters. We were able to work together and get a call to arms, but I just gave any good gear. I tried to like load him up with as much good gear. So that being said, that was the goal for this ladder. You know, I didn't go bear, I went dire wolves, and I was trying out if it was worth it to go werewolf a little bit so that I could clear like normal cows or something, because you can use fury, and I do think it was worth it for this ladder. And yeah, I just went like a normal fire claw build. Didn't go cyclone armor. So the good thing that this build provided was tankiness for him and I, tankiness for myself. The downside, I would say, is self-clear was slow and pretty brutal. There's no teleporting around. But I will say I wouldn't die a lot, which is really good. And my main goal was to try and clear this area and also clear this area here. So let me see here. So you can see that I have some decent magic find. You know, it's not the 50 plus 50, 75. It's over 200, I think, if I really want it to be. So as you can see, you can shockwave people. I only put 1 point on shockwave, and then you could just use fire claws. So as you can see, the clear speed isn't that high, but if you're able to stun everybody, and you know, the physical immunes are no issue. Holy cow. Let's get out of here. Whoa. So that's what that clear would look like. And we'll identify some stuff. Just for you.
Afternoon.
Alright, yeah, nothing big. Ooh, Zeal Wand with ignores target defense. Let's go. And then this was like the sorceress to get us around. So her, I wanted to try something really weird. I wanted to try an energy shield sorceress with firewall. The reason that I was thinking is because firewall gets its plus 4% off of warmth, and then you're going to use energy shield with warmth. So, you know, I didn't max out Inferno. I just went warmth, energy shield with telekinesis as many points as I could. Or actually, no. That's what I did beforehand, is I tried maxing both energy shield and telekinesis, and my damage was just so weak, it just was not worth doing that. So what I did was max telekinesis. I almost maxed out lightning mastery. 1 point of each to get to shiver armor. A smarter move probably would have been to go frozen armor, but the reason why I want shiver armor instead is because I did want so mostly I was farming Countess with her, which is like an Act 1, so most of the monsters weren't that hard. So I did want to just kind of stand there and use the shiver armor as a way of attacking. So using shiver armor to you know, stun enemies, and then I also put 1 point onto Frost Nova so that I could also you know, slow enemies down a little bit, and then 1 point onto Cold Mastery, and So my main attacks are mostly firewall and lightning. So I'm kind of spread. I'm very spread pretty thin. And I'm not doing a bunch of damage. I don't have a really high clear speed. But the point that I was trying to do with this was to make it cheap, you know, to not have to rely on a lot of expensive gear. And I was happy to get helped out. People were able to give me a Hoto. But before using a Heart of the Oak, I was using a Wizard Spike just to hit the faster cast rate, you know, breakpoint. So we'll go over the gear that I have now, which is Heart of the Oak. This is what I found works the best, that I like. Gladiator's Bane with Mal, Gurks with Mal, Shaker with Soul, a Crafted Ring with damage reduction, one faster cast rate ring, one Stone of Jordan, Mage Fist, String of Ears, and then this Marowak Bone Weaves is pretty great. And on Switch, I was so happy to find a staff with almost perfect energy shield. You know, and this also has Thunderstorm, so I'm saving a point that I don't have to put into Thunderstorm. So it's level 12, even though I didn't put any points. And and then when I go to Hell, so when I'm trying to clear like Chaos or Bale, I'm going to wear a Vamp Gaze. Very weird build, I know. But found that it's effective without using, you know, as you can see, like this is probably the most expensive piece, but my buddy was able to help me out and he just kind of gifted it to me. Very much, thank you. Skill charms if I can. Got a torch and a lot. You gotta really watch your poison res. Having res and poison res is really helpful. This is just some stuff that I found. Oh, and a lower res wand is definitely needed for this because we're not trying to get an infinity, so using a lower res wand in replacement. And then also a powered amulet with +3 to lightning skills for a pre-buff, so that you can get 74% at least. You want above 70% absorb on your energy shield. The higher the better. But that's why I use a Shaco usually instead of a Vamp Gaze or like a Koa or something. I did try a rack belt for a little bit, and I found that if I used a rack belt, then I would want to use Frostburns for an extra mana pool. But I found that having mana regeneration on Mage Fists and fire skills was more valuable to have on this build. And you know, the mercenary is using a cheap insight with treachery and happily in Andy's face. I was using a Tal's mask for a while, so let's show you what her clear usually is. So it's usually something like this. Oops. And again, because it's in Act 1, you have a, you know, it's less risky. It's not, how do you say? You're not really gonna die unless you're not paying attention. Like I've had it where I check my phone sometimes and I'm just like really not paying attention and I get cursed or something. But so I've gotten cursed and my mercenary gets cursed, and that's pretty bad. So this was basically the only spot that this character I was planning on having some sort of clear speed on and having some sort of farm ability. I was trying to do some chaos, and you know, she's okay for like Norman Nightmare runs, which is great because that's basically all you kind of need in the beginning stages of ladder, you know, to help out some folks, or to help out my buddy. So here we go. So static field is really important. What I usually do is lay down some firewall, use static field, and then if they get too close, use some Frost Nova so that I can back up, and then lightning. and always want to make sure that there's a line of firewall, just like that, just in case, you know. So these are all cold immunes, so I'm laying down a fire wall, like that, and then getting my mercenary close enough so that he does some damage. And as you can see, that's a pretty quick clear, and sometimes it's harder. And that's basically all that she needs to do, you know. And yeah, on ladder you can just continually up runes, and that's usually what I do, is just collect as many runes as I can and either mass trade them and be like, hey, who wants, you know, 10 Tal runes, or who wants, you know, 15 Amn runes, and try and farm like those lower level runes that are easier to obtain but at least be a source. And then also the other thing, a source of you know, tradability. Also, there's a lot of jewels that drop, and holding on to those for materials for people to craft as well. Any sort of crafting materials. The one thing that I did try too is I did try a Griffin's Helm, so I was swapping between a Griffin's Helm, a Shaco, and that Vamp Gaze. And then also, I was trying a Viper Magi instead of Gladiator's Bane with, you know, earlier in the ladder with Viper Magi's with a Whiz Spike and like a Spirit Monarch. And Gurk's is definitely way more noticeable that it absorbs more damage. And if we want, let's just go over here and show how much damage she can absorb. My mercenary does have the Might Aura to help his damage. His damage is going to be really important as my lightning damage is pretty low. I'm still able to clear that area, but that doesn't mean that I'm high enough damage. So as you can see, I'm not taking any damage to my life pool, but it's definitely... I'm trying to think of areas that she has difficulty with. Definitely areas with like these, if I take too many of these arrows too quickly, and I'm walking around or something. But, yeah. In this area, a Vamp Gaze is really nice. And, yeah, her clear speed also very low and designed for the very specific area. But you have to play aggressively so that your mercenary gets close in there enough to hurt monsters. The reason being... Oh, hold on. The reason being is because you see how there's so many, like, fire immune, but then there's also, like, cold immunes. And having him close to people, you at least know for sure you're doing physical damage. Alright. This is... I wanted to try a really weird paladin, if I had enough, you know, items, and I happily do. So this guy is a zeal, but instead of fanaticism, he uses conviction, because my buddy wanted to make a rift sin, so I wanted to use conviction and have a conviction aura up without having to, you know, make an infinity. I found this myself, which blows me away because it has 2 open sockets and a perfect enhanced damage roll. I couldn't be happier. If I didn't find anything else this ladder, that would have been fine. But I did actually find some other cool stuff, which I'm going to show you later on in the video. If you are liking the video, if you're liking this sort of content, leave a comment down below or a like and just let me know. If you don't, you know, hit the dislike button. Let me know you don't like it. But if you just dislike it, but you don't tell me what you don't like about it, then there's not much I could do. Right. So this guy is combo hammered in / Zealer. Now I make smite hammers all the time, but this guy does zeal on one side and hammers on the other side, and his hammer damage is low, as is his zeal damage, but because he has conviction aura, It weakens, I feel like a lot of people don't talk about this. It weakens the resistance, but also their defense as well. So their defense is lowered by 94%. So he's a very effective Zealer and also has a pretty quick clear speed when it comes to using hammers and just using his full kit. I did play around with using an Astrion's instead of Heaven's Light, and I think the first weapon that he was using was something like an Aldurs weapon or something like that. Laying of Hands classic. I didn't have any Gores, so I'm just using some Aldurs. Ravenfrost Arachnid Mesh is a must to hit a faster cast rate breakpoint. 1 faster cast rate ring with Mana Steal. If you were able to get something with dual life steal, but actually because I have a skull in this, it's not too big of a deal, but I'm using this one just because it has mana per kill, which helps on the Blessed Hammer side as well. Fortitude, very necessary, not only for the 300% enhanced damage for the Zeal, but also for the faster cast rate, the res, and the chilling armor. It's all super great for this build. And a G-Face for Crushing Blow, Deadly Strike, great strength, great defense, and also faster hit recovery. If you're not using a Dungos and you're using Arachnid Mesh, having some faster hit recovery is great. High Lords must have as well. Increased attack speed with Deadly Strike. I think if I had a damage and increased attack speed jewel, I could do that. Or if I wanted to use a low or a burr instead of a skull here, you could get more damage out of this. But again, this is just to try and have a cheap ladder to help out my buddy. Of like, you know, if we can use a low rune, can we use it for his grief instead of, you know, buffing something like this? Instead of my own grief or something, you know? All right. Heart of the Oak and also a Spirit Shield. Really important to have, you know, a high res base Spirit Shield that you can. This one, I think you need at least 30% faster cast rate. But some res there, pretty cool. Not perfect. I think it's 3 off of perfect. I think it's 4 off of perfect. Yeah, it's 4 off of perfect. And then an in the Haas because I needed res. And you can see I do have some like resistance issues. But that's cool. To be expected. 2 P-combs. Attack rating. And again, because their defense is so low, you don't need a super high attack rating. Okay. Also, he's using just leftover stuff, to be honest. He was using like an insight, but I gave my insight to somebody else, and so he just has this stuff. I don't even know if he's going to live, honestly. Yeah, I found this Hone Sudan early in the ladder and just shoved this stuff in there. So let's see. This guy can kind of farm almost anywhere. He just is slower to get around. Oh, that's right. I should go over the... So I can do... What I do, usually, lay down some hammers like this, so you have a field of hammers, and then go over to hitting people with this stick. And as you can see, that last imp had some fire and cold res, but because my conviction aura is high enough, it just went away. Charge is important on this guy. And I was trying Fist of the Heavens just to see if I could squeeze in more damage and do something cool like that. But it wasn't effective enough for it to be worthwhile. If I respec, I would get rid of that Fist of Heavens, but I think it's a prerequisite. So I think I already did that actually, and just didn't. I just didn't max it because there was a point where I was putting more points into it. Skills, right, is a few points into Vigor, prerequisites, and then having Meditation and Redemption is really great. This is like a team-sided build, right? Enough points to get minus 150 Conviction with gear on, and then did I max this? I didn't max this, I don't think. I just put a few points onto each as I advance. I'm still only level 81, so it was more important to me to max out my zeal damage. Oh yeah, so I wasted 3 skill points on Fist of Heavens just to try it. If I would do it again, I would use it for something else. So I can't really tell you exactly how many points I put on each thing, but you can see I maxed out Sacrifice instead of maxing out Zeal. With items, you want to at least be hitting 5 targets with Zeal. And then I maxed out Blessed Hammer and Sacrifice. Or I'm sorry, I didn't even max out Sacrifice. I just put a bunch of points into it. What did I do here? Yeah, max out Blessed Hammer, a bunch of points on the Sacrifice. Because you're so spread out, it's like hitting Conviction Aura is important, and then hitting max Blessed Hammer, and then putting a few points into Sacrifice to up your Zeal damage, and then you get around with Charge. You don't really do that much damage with Charge, and having a good amount of concentration. So it's like a heavy balancing act that I found as I went through what was helping and what was not helping as much. Like a few points into Blessed Aim was helping, but not maxing out, you know, all of the points onto Vigor, because I was trying to figure out if it mattered, you know, which it doesn't. But Blessed Aim passively increases your attack rating for Zeal, so that's why I was bouncing back and forth a little bit between Vigor, even though I did say you don't need a lot of attack rating with Zeal. I know it's kind of confusing. This is very nuanced. If you play the game a bunch, you know what I'm talking about. But like, you know, 3,000 Zeal rating in Hell is like unheard of low. But as you can see, I'm still able to hit. I don't know why I don't have that waypoint, but yeah. You know, so that took some balancing to do. As I advance, I'll probably put more points onto Sacrifice to do more Zeal damage, because it's very helpful. And the hammer damage, this is why I maxed out hammers first, is just to be like, all right, I can't max out more hammer damage. I have to go with one of the synergies, and deciding if running is more important or if having more Blessed Aim is important. And at this point, I would start putting more into... I would start putting more into Vigor, just so I can get around every percent faster. So even though I have only 3,000 attack rating, it's definitely not 3,000 attack rating. It's able to do enough damage and actually connect on a very consistent basis. Yeah, so this is where my mercenary's totally gonna die, I can tell. So in these small corners, it's not helpful to have what was it saying? Hammer. But like, if I'm here, I'll totally release some and then get back to attacking. But like here, it's not really worth it because it can hit a wall. But in the Chaos Sanctuary, which is usually where I'm hanging out at with this guy, because it's a straightforward map that's always the same. And then if I swap, and honestly, I can run through just run hammers and then just switch over to Zeal when I start running out of mana. That's it. Like, really depends on what I'm trying to do. So here I'm out of mana. I can swap, get some mana back this way. All right, let's move on. All right, so this is the last barbarian. I have been streaming with this guy the entire ladder. I've tried to do as much as I can on stream. And let's see where he's at. Got a grief, treachery, Arat's face. Oops, this is his gold find setup. High Lords, a rare fast trade recovery belt with strength, dual res ring with either Chanseys or these crafted gloves with Raven Frost and Gore Riders, and then some plus to war cries over here. I did not spend a lot of time looking for war cry sticks, which I should, and I don't have a torch on this guy yet. Treachery is so much of a must. If you watch the ladder playthrough, you can see that I was using an oath, and I've got this Grief Zweihander, and I also have a Grief Colossus Blade. I was able to roll. This was my main goal for playing ladder this season, was to try and get a 39 increased attack speed Grief Colossus Blade. I might keep playing and look for a higher damage one, look for like a 40-40, but, you know, who knows? This one was really cool because it has enhanced damage, and the damage rolled really high, so I'm really happy with that. Like, so stoked. Treachery is a must-have because it's so cheap that it gives you fade, which gives you damage reduction, but the increased attack speed and the faster air recovery and the gold find, it's just like everything that you would want on a barbarian. Durio's Shell, very helpful for the mercenary, and I upped this just because I wanted to try one and see what the big deal was, because somebody's like, oh, I'm really looking for one, and I was like, it ups your defense by like 80. It's really not worth it, in my opinion, to use like a Lemco to up this instead of something else. Law's Zweihander, just so we can match Zweihanders. Isn't that cute? So cute. All right. This guy's a Berserker, Whirlwind Barb, mostly. And then I was going to shift more into Berserk, but I found that Berserk and Conk are really great to exchange and max out Whirlwind and only put 1 point onto each, and max battle orders, a few points into Shout, 1 onto battle command, a few points into find item. I'm gonna keep putting points on here, I think. At the beginning of the ladder, I always put like 1 point on each, just so that I can swap out having different weapons and not worry about, you know, this has like earlier levels having like 50% actual extra damage and what you know, what, 17% crit strike for free on just like a random weapon that you pick up, if it's an axe or a club or whatever. So great. And then working towards maxing out sword mastery. Right. So this guy, because he can't teleport, kind of like the paladin, I mostly wanted this guy to be like more an all-around chaos killer and trap killer. It did take me a long time because I was doing other stuff in real life. Plus I was just mostly looking for these swords, not necessarily playing through and farming a bunch on this character. So his clear speed is, his clear areas are kind of like the fire Druid, but not as strict because he is stronger and has more survivability. I haven't done Ubers with him. I actually just got him to level 80 and finished the game a few days before the ladder ends. So, you know, this guy is physical immune.
I am overburdened.
And what is this? This is like Berserks, right?
Impossible.
Yeah. Let's see him impale, huh?
Good day.
Rattle cage. Yeah. Ah, this is why I don't do immediately. This is why I don't do bail. But River of Flame is pretty good. Yeah, I'm not gonna full clear, but I did want you just to see. Also, okay, if you stayed to the end of the video, I'll show you this. So a lot of times you want your treachery to proc, but you are like in danger every time you get hit. So if you actually stand here, this is like interactive fire that actually will hurt you. And by standing in this fire, you can wait for your proc to go off. You can sit here and there it goes. So now I have way more res and I'm a little translucent. As you can see, I'm not fully visible. So now I have some damage reduction and res, which is pretty nutty. And if you wanted to, you could switch to a fort. I don't. If I did, I would have one on my mercenary. The reason why I let him keep the Duriel's shell is the cannot be frozen is really great on him. And yes, you can. Performance anxiety. Sorry about that. Again, another great team build because I'm maxing battle orders and putting a bunch of points in the shout. If I wanted to, I could pick up a shield and just have a one-handed grief. But having some decent clear speed, better than the fire druid. I love using Berserk. Yeah. And then, yeah, having some sort of extra find item. You know, this is not a magic find like Pit Circer or a gold finding Barb. This is just a whirlwind Barb that I wanted to play. Because it's similar to the one that I have on non-ladder. As you can see, I like to clear into the back line. And I'll say putting Lawbringer on your mercenary as soon as you can is really helpful to knock back any of these undead. And it also actually helps like the player's eye to identify that when an undead is being knocked back, you're not able to leech off of them. So it actually helps a lot that way by just being like, oh, I can't, I'd have to like go out of my way to try and hit them. And it enables you to prioritize the monsters that you can life leech off of, especially with a Barb, with two-handed Barb with no shield. You know, oh, I think my shouts wore down. Yeah, 4K defense with no shield. You're gonna get hit, so you're gonna want to leech. So see how I can tell the difference that all those I'm not gonna get any leech off of, so I can clear some here. Come on, don't make me a liar. Then Also the what is it? The Decrepify amp. Amps your damage. Decrepify Curse is great because it amps your damage when it goes off. So then you can also target any of the monsters that have amp damage above them. And I usually like to... Oh, that's why I'm not doing damage. Oh, that's rough. Because I was fucking around. Alright. Thanks for joining the video. If you liked it, let me know what you liked. Let me know what your ladder builds usually will look like. How many characters you usually try and do in a ladder. If it's 1, if it's 3. If you self-farm, if you trade. I'm looking forward to next ladder. I'm going to make a separate video now and show some of the stuff that I found that I'm, like, really stoked that I found. Maybe I'll link it because it's going to be a shorter video. It's going to be the same clip of here. So, thanks for watching. Please hit subscribe. See ya.